Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Sense of Impending Hope. My name is Jay Hill. And this morning I want to talk about and continue my prayer series that I started some 6, 8 months ago. And the topic today I'd like to talk about is vulnerability. I think most of us have spent most of our lives trying to avoid vulnerability, when in fact, what I'm coming to find out at a age that might be a little too late, or maybe it's not, I don't know. I don't know that there's ever an age that's too late to learn. But the overall feeling that I get about vulnerability is that that's exactly what it is that creates connection, it creates intimacy, it creates growth, and most importantly, it creates trust. How many of us have spent all of our lives being taught that we have to be tough, that you have to be able to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, that you have to be able to do this on your own, that nobody's going to help you, that this is all on your own. Get up and rub some dirt on it. I remember that one. That was always good. And what I found over the course of time is that I can't do this alone. I can't. None of this is possible alone. All of us that have done anything, even mildly meaningful in our lives, have had help. Some of that's come from family, some of it's come from friends, some of it's come from mentors, some of it's come from just a caring stranger. But in order for me to be able to even ask for help, I have to understand where vulnerability lies in me. I used to think that being vulnerable meant um, that I was easily attackable, because I've spent most of my life feeling like I've been picked on and bullied. I've felt like for most of my adult life and even my childhood life that everything that I have done has been wrong. And in order to survive in a world where it seems like the world is really a harsh and scary place, vulnerability is one of the last things that I've wanted to undertake. Because in by my definition, vulnerability meant easily attacked. And I just shared that. But what I found out is that being vulnerable in the places where I'm not doing well, in the places where I do need help, in the places where I can come up higher, actually lead to greater insight. They lead to being able to be more helpful, and they lead me to be able to be intimate with someone else. And intimacy is another definition that got lost in translation as a teenager, and I think most of us were taught to equate intimacy with physical relationship and physical romantic relationships. And what I've found is that intimacy, and a good friend of mine in Kentucky once said that intimacy is a great word, and you can change it to say into me see. But in order for me to allow you to see what's inside, I have to put aside all of my fear. I have to put aside all of the things that I think are objectionable about myself to allow you to see what's inside. Because if we're being honest, most of the reasons why I don't want anyone to see what's going on inside is because I'm afraid that when they see it, they won't want to be around. And I'm afraid that if they're not around anymore, then I will lose one of the two or three things that are most important to me in my life. And what I'm coming to find out is that as humans, myself specifically, I think one of the things that I long for most is human connection. That connection between each other that's directly from the heart. It's that it's that recognition of my soul and your soul as they recognize each other, and we're there to help each other grow and to get better. One of the things that I've found out over the course of the last year or so is because of some of the revelations that I've had, I don't necessarily enjoy the masculine banter stuff that I used to engage in pretty readily with groups of men. That stuff has an effect on me that causes me to behave in a different way than I choose to want to be. And so in order to be vulnerable in this moment, one of the things that I found is that I felt bullied and picked on my whole life, and I said that earlier. And in order to stop that, what happened was I decided, because I'm pretty witty, um, I'm tall, like I can be relatively physically imposing at times, depending on the person. And it was much more painless to be a bully or to pick on people or to be the guy who said snide remarks or had a sarcastic wit or had something to say that wasn't positive and life affirming. And so I've spent most of my life being that guy. And what I've found now is that those moments that I'm engaged in that stuff with buddies, and I mean, we all do it. It doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it any better. But when I'm engaged in that stuff, or I'm around folks that are engaged in that stuff, it really is not a fun place for me to be anymore. And there was a time when I really, really thought that that toughness and that bravado and all of that macho stuff that we engaged in was what made us men. Because that was what I was taught. I was taught that in sports playing growing up, and I was taught that in young adulthood, and I was taught that in the military, and that the way that we survive is by being tougher than the other guy, by being meaner than the other guy, or girl in that case. But just by being tougher and meaner gave me an opportunity to be seen and heard as something that's not exactly who I am. And over the last year or so, one of the reasons I found out that I figured out that I have a hard time doing this podcast on the regular basis is because it scares me. It scares me because I'm afraid of what you all think about. And I'm afraid of somebody saying, well, who cares what he has to say anyway? What right does he have to say anything about any of this stuff? And and that makes it very scary for me to do this. So the but I love doing this. I just love it. I love being able to express some of my thoughts and share some of my experiences and to use this little platform that I have to maybe help somebody not feel so unique. Because in a world, especially on social media, where everything is about I'm right, you're wrong, and you're stupid, and I hate you because you're not like me, um, maybe a little bit of hope or maybe a little bit of sharing something that makes someone else feel a little less unique or somebody feel loved when the whole rest of the world is telling them that they're a piece of crap is worth it. There are always moments that I've found in life where I have a choice and I have an option, and if I just take a breath, I can choose the right option. And most of that starts with what comes out of my mouth. Truly, what comes out of my mouth. The days where I'm feeling less spiritually fit, there's a good chance that a lot or some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth will be sarcastic. It'll be mean spirited. It'll be um, It'll come out in a manner that says that, by God, I'm going to be right. But in the moments where I am spiritually fit, and I have those moments to be able to pause, I can take a look at situations and understand that there's a moment in each one of these given situations where I have a choice to decide what comes out of my mouth. Will it be loving and positive and life affirming, or will it be something that is sarcastic, that tries to make me look and feel a little better because I don't normally look and feel good on my own, or I don't feel like I do? And if I'm trying to align my will with God's will, I'm trying to do the right thing spiritually, most of the time, the right thing to do is to find a way to make a connection, to show a little vulnerability and to express a little bit of my own experience where I can say, I have some experience here to share with you that will help, that could help you feel less unique. And when I'm able to do those kinds of things, my overall attitude towards life in general. And I think I like talking to people who aren't afraid to be vulnerable because it's genuine. And all of the things that are coming out of their mouth are genuine. That they're sharing with me, that they feel comfortable enough to share with me things that are scary to them. And then when I'm able to feel comfortable enough in myself and my relationship with God that I can share with other people the things that are scary to me, then I have a real shot at being useful. And in the first one of these, I talked about aim, and I think what I've read and what I've come to understand and what I think I know now is that humans were meant to carry a burden. And it's meant to be an uphill trudge, and it's meant to be an upward aim. And so we're aiming at the city on the hill, and we're aiming at like Sisyphus with the rolling the rock uphill. And if I'm doing those things, it's impossible for me to do those things and to be macho and to be sarcastic and to be all of the things that I used to be and still can be and am trying to stop being. It's impossible for me to have an uphill aim when my attitude and the things that come out of my mouth have a downward trajectory. And so it's been very important for me to understand that vulnerability really starts with a lot. It obviously it starts in my thinking, but it also starts with the things that I allow to come out of my mouth and don't allow to come out. And so while vulnerability seems to be a very scary thing, um, and when we do open up to people in a vulnerable manner, it allows them an opportunity to take a shot and to use the vulnerable things that we've shared to then wound us later. But that's part of the burden. I believe that's part of the deal in creating human connection. Because without human connection, the rest of this stuff is just really hard. So I'm going to have a couple guests coming on here in the next week or two, I hope. I am looking forward to try to get back into this and to belay the fear and to really jump back into doing this because I really do enjoy it. I enjoy talking about stuff that's real and stuff that matters and maybe spreading a little bit of hope in a world that really needs it right now. And so thank you all so much for allowing me to be here today. I hope everyone has a blessed weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day.